You are good. You're magnetic in the middle.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you're getting way too fancy.
And he just, exactly, I don't have seen him in it. I don't like it. But yeah, and see, I had LASIK surgery. And then I had the boys and then my eyes.
Getting out. There we go.
Yeah, so feet changed, everything changed. And my eyes. So now I'll wear contacts.
Is Sarah Page gone back yet?
It's awful. I feel like I'm painting. at night.
Has she had a good summer?
I can put my readers on.
Enjoyed seeing her.
Then I can't see Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for cataracts, you know, that's what I'm hoping for.
That's right.
Before I had cataract surgery. I couldn't see very well at all. The contact.
Call the school board meeting to order, the motion to go into close.
So moved.
Second.
Being properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried.
So-
So moved.
Second.
Moving properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion is so carried. In pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board has discussed personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters during closed session. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda and other parts of the agenda as action items and information items. Members of the board, please certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session. Board members will respond by roll call.
Mrs. Socek,
Yes.
Dr. Burnett,
Yes.
Chairman Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Harrow,
Yes.
and Mrs. McMurtry.
Yes.
We stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
We do, don't we? The financials and crisis plan, right? I move we accept the additions to the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Moving proper second. All in favor?
Aye.
My motion is so carried. Next, we have public announcements. August 17th, 2023, open house at all schools from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. August the 21st, first day of school. September the 1st and the 4th, Middlesex County Public Schools closed Labor Day holiday. September the 11th will be the next school board meeting at St. Clair Walker at 6:30. Okay, next we have recognition, Dr. Syke.
And I have a few specifically related to our opening school convocation, which was held last week. I know most of you were in attendance for that, but I wanted to really send a shout out and a thank you to a lot of people on the team that put many, many hours into that work, the planning. Dr. Bishop for the planning and presenting. He actually had the cheer idea for the school assembly departments. That was very successful. To Kim Bagby and Jessica Tuning, they not only they coordinated the breakfast, but they made had purchased everything and set it all up for breakfast, and the photo booth and the decorations and the door prizes and the cups that all the staff received. So again, lots of creative ideas went into that. Jessica Tuning also worked with all of the vendors and organizations we had for the staff to visit. And to Chris McBurney, he's our new nutrition coordinator, and we hit him with, can you prepare lunch for 200 people? And he said, I've got it. So if you were here or if you stayed long enough, he was grilling outside with the help of Dustin Harris and Ron Stinsky, and then prepared a nice spread for our staff. And so I just wanted to recognize all the people that may have been behind the scenes that definitely deserve a kudos and a thank you from us.
Okay. All right, next we have open the floor for public comment.
Kayla Wills of Pine Top.
Hello,
Hello.
and my name is Kayla Wills, and I'm a junior at Middlesex High School. Last season, I participated in track and field, and I became the first female pole vaulter of Middlesex High School. But all we had to practice in was a sandbox with 2 poles that we had, or different facilities at schools, which can be hard to set up sometimes. So in an effort to improve our performance and enhance our skills, we need a pole vault mat. I'm asking the school to provide the standards, pit, and bar for the setup, and my family is willing to donate the slab and runway coming up to the mat. I've spoken to Matt Sam and one of my coaches, Joel Anderson. They think that this would be an awesome idea. It may even encourage more students to come out for track in the upcoming years. And along with a long jump pit, this can help Middlesex High School hold bigger meets at the school, which can help put the name out there as well. I and many other students will be very, very blessed to have this from the school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm. Anyone else?
Dawn Moore of Urbana.
Good evening.
Uh-oh.
My daughter said I left my voice at Camp
I was
Yankatay.
gonna say Saturday, did you in?
Everybody knows about Saturday. And I feel on this platform, I need to thank, and the committee feels they need to thank Mrs. Fleet. She was the only representative. The kids loved her. She brought volunteers and she stayed just about the whole entire time and worked. So I wanted to stand before you and let you know how thankful we are for Mrs. Fleet and all the work she did on Saturday, because nobody else came. And that was sad. And Kim's excluded. And I would just like to see you all participate a little bit more next year, because we're doing this to have a partnership with you. The kids were excited. As soon as they seen Deputy Wyatt, they beelined right to him. He knew their names. He hugged them. They were happy. Sergeant Randall was out there playing basketball, fully dressed in her uniform. We had the fire trucks out there. The ambulance was out there. The kids had a great time. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Okay, next we have board members' committee reports.
The regional sped program meeting for August was postponed, so we're not sure when in September. I don't know if it will be before our September meeting, but certainly before the next October meeting. I'll have a report. And Bridging Communities will be meeting this fall also.
Okay.
Middlesex Foundation meets Wednesday. And the school construction committee will meet, I'm quite hopeful, on the 30th of this month. I say hopeful because the last meeting didn't occur, but we're going to meet the 30th. I'm quite sure.
Okay. Okay.
The finance team also got canceled. That meeting was canceled in the same situation. So we're typically summertime, we do not have a lot of finance committee meetings with the board of supervisors. Likely it'll probably be another one, maybe end of this month, possibly. But anyway, we just hadn't had another meeting lately.
Okay.
No committee meeting, but the feedback from convocation that I received from numerous teachers was incredible. They loved the school-wide, just us community convocation this time. And I think the cheer really set the tone, the competition. And I have heard that it's going to be tight next year. But it was great. Everyone, all the teachers that I spoke with absolutely loved it this year. So good job.
Well, I was told that the high school won it as far as the cheer.
Mhm.
That's true.
And I was sorry I couldn't be here, but working 12 hours isn't too much you can do, makes it a little difficult. But I wish I could have been here. I thank Dr. Burnett for filling in for me and everybody, taking it and running with it. And Susan, once again, you always do a great job. As far as my report, we have nothing on from Hampton Roads yet. And I attended a meeting in Charlottesville dealing with the legislation. And it was a committee of 11 people from all of the different regions. And it was a lot of things that people were trying to introduce. Some were passed on, some were rejected. But that was a pretty interesting,
Not bad.
group of people, really was. Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the convocation was only my second But I walked out with a member of the community who happens to also be on the board of supervisors, who has attended many convocations, and he said this was the best one he ever attended.
Mhm. I heard that too.
I heard it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I missed it.
Okay. All right, let's see. All right, next we have the consent agenda. Have a motion on the consent agenda,
So moved.
Second.
moving properly second, all in favor?
Hi.
Motion is so carried. Next, we have some action items, some appropriations, Dr. Sykes.
All right, and if you will turn to page 16 in your packet, I'm gonna go through these and just stop me if you've got questions, because we have a few here. So we're starting actually on page 17. Most of these are carryover. It's from FY 23 to FY 24. The first one is the remaining balance in the textbook fund, just under $6,000 that's being carried over for the next fiscal year, which we can do. On page 18, we have school food carryover, their balance. And just a reminder that school food is self-sufficient. It supports itself, and we are allowed to carry over a certain percentage of that. So we are within those guidelines there. On the next page, which is 19, these are the SRECs that SunTribe pays us once a year. That's in the agreement for 5 years. So that's the annual payment of those. On page 20, we were receiving some additional money for school security grant. This actually goes back to 2020. We were a school that applied, and evidently the state had some leftover funds. And so this 5,400 has been allocated to us to get some of the things that were on our grant request that we didn't initially receive funding for. So we have those on page 21. 2 grants here. The Flanagan grant has to do with mathematics at the elementary school, supporting those teachers. And the recruitment and retention grant is from the Virginia Department of Education, and that will support tuition payments for those teachers that we are working to get their proper endorsement. And then the next 22 through 25 actually are all federal funds that we're carrying over from FY 23 to 24. You see there's a list of titles. IDEA is for special education, and then the ESSER funds that we're still able to carry over through next year. And then the last is on page 28. And that carryover is from 2 places. The 3,500 is what we have remaining that was scheduled to be paid to Mosley Architects for the MHS master plan. And the renovation committee is aware of that, and there's still some billable hours that we have from Mosley that the committee will bring back as we get further into our process. And then the 1,100,000 that, if you remember, was allocated to all school divisions from the governor. It's based on LCI and enrollment and such. But that was part of last year's amendment that he made. And as long as it's allocated for construction, renovation, those types of things, we can continue to carry those funds. Just after a year, we do have to put it in an escrow account. And so those are all of the appropriations, and I'm happy to answer any questions about them.
I move we approve the appropriations as requested.
Second.
Moving properly second, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Okay, Dr. Sykes, continue.
All right, next we have school fees, and we're looking at the amended agenda. So we have school fees up next. Those are located on page 30. They're approved annually at one of our summer meetings. The only increase in this year's fees is in one of the electives in Spanish Honor Society. It's going from $5 to $10. All of the other fees remain the same as they were last year.
I have a question. Are the student activity fees mandatory?
Are they mandatory that we have them, or are they mandatory that they're paid?
Are they mandatory that each student must pay them?
We request that each student pays them. Certainly we work with families if they're not able to do that, but there's not a penalty or anything that's charged if they are not paid. Good. They do help to support all of the activities that go on in the schools. So they are encouraged, but not mandatory.
Continue.
Do you want to approve?
Yes,
school
okay,
fees? Uh-huh.
okay. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Okay,
All right, and then next, we have an updated solar power purchase agreement, and the reason that's coming to you to be updated is that the work that needs to be done. This is in the area at the elementary school where the overflow parking is going, and because that's where the solar has the equipment that runs from the field over here to St. Clair Walker, that has to be relocated deeper, and so there's a cost associated with that. The way Sun Tribe is working with us is to provide an updated PPA to cover those costs. And so the new updated PPA now goes out for 30 years. So it extends the life of it. It actually increases some of the savings because we are renegotiating what that cost is to us now instead of renegotiating it 20 years out. And so that's included in here.
have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moving proper second, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Okay. Next, we have information items, instruction, Dr. Bishop.
All right, this is our instructional report. Prior to convocation, our new teachers worked with our instructional department. And we also had technology training with our new teachers. And the one other thing is they met with their mentors and had lunch with them. Almost all of our paraprofessionals attended a parapro training sponsored by T-Tech of William and Mary. Middlesex County Public Schools had 5 of the 13 tables there at William and Mary. So we're very proud of those parapros. When they returned, they were very excited about the training. And just had a better sense about instruction and also student behavior management. After convocation, teachers met with teams and co-curricular or curricular departments to begin planning for 23-24. The preschool teachers had training on Creative Cloud, which is part of their curriculum for preschool. It's a research-based curriculum platform. Non-math teachers in grades 3 through 12 learned about Wakelet, which is our new tool for students to create portfolios, to show off their work, to create basically a web page for their work that they can carry on post high school. So it's very exciting that we're going to create this new project for our learners at Middlesex. St. Clair Walker teachers had training with Nearpod, and all teachers in grades 3 through 12 will participate in our new assessment platform called Edulastic. This is really intuitive. It's much more easier to learn than our previous assessment platform. So, and you're able to share across teacher teams, assessments that you've created. So a lot of really good programs that are going to be in place. As it relates to the crisis management plan, Mr. Harris and Mr. Dunkel and I met with Middlesex Elementary and Middlesex High School today to discuss the importance of being aware, building relationships with students, locking doors, and following the protocol to make our schools safe, including the Evolve system and the safe use of technology to protect our student data. And then we are preparing for open house this Thursday, August 17th. A lot going on.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'll reopen the floor now for public comment.
Second. Yeah, we didn't do that.
Seeing none, floor is now closed. Ma'am.
Second reading on the tuition.
Oh, I skipped that. Thank you, Ms. Sarchet.
Dr. Stipe?
Yep, thank you for catching that. On page 27 is the second reading of policy JEC R2 tuition. There have been no changes or updates since you first saw it at first reading last month.
Okay. Could I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Move proper second. Any question? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is so carried. Thank you. Catching that. Okay. And superintendent's report?
I have a couple of updates. I'd mentioned the PPA that you just approved. So I wanted to give you an update also on that parking lot. I think you remember the last meeting I'd shared that we were held up a little bit just with some additional things that needed to be done required by DEQ. And so Bay Design did complete the last drilling that they needed to do. They went down to 16 feet, still found no groundwater. So they're updating their plan. Hope to have that resubmitted by the end of the week. They're hopeful that satisfies the request from DEQ, and that maybe by the middle of next month, we would have approval, and then they've got a timeline sketched out to start bids and such. And so if the approval goes forward next month, as we hope, and weather permitting, the project should be completed spring of next year. They recognize a little bit of a time crunch for the funding piece of it, but
Yeah.
we're hopeful that by the spring, if we're approved and whether
It's the end of 24, right?
it is September of 24.
September
that it
of
is
24.
September
Okay.
of 24.
Okay.
And its funds have to be expended. So that's the update on the parking lot. I was going to share about some training and safety. Dr. Bishop shared that. I did want to share, and maybe you took a look at that all three of our schools had a perfect audit this year, which is a big feat for our bookkeepers. If you're not aware of how that works, is that the second any money comes into a school and goes from a child's hand to a teacher's hand, it's tracked all the way through and has a certain amount of time, usually 24 hours, that have to be deposited. So kudos to all of our bookkeepers and our teachers and everyone that followed through on all of those procedures to get a perfect audit. As we shared, open house is this Thursday, 4 to 7. Everybody's getting ready for that, and school starts in 1 week. Ready to roll. That's all I have.
That's all there. Okay. Any old business? New? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move.
Okay, that's a
Second.
motion and a second.
Third and the fourth.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned.